Hi, everybody. Welcome to City Sunday. We are going to hop on 5 minutes before just to get set up, give people time to know that this is happening. I am so excited today because we have a special guest who is going to be joining us. All right, let's do that. All right, Mira, let's see. Hi, Mira. Are you on yet? Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
Am
Where
I
are
too
you?
close?
Let me see. No, you are perfect. Look at
Okay.
us. All right. Welcome, everybody who's starting with City Sunday. We have a special guest today who I am so excited to introduce from the Arab American Mental Health Association. And he is going to hop on at 10 o'clock to talk about his journey. I cannot express the courage that it takes. It's one thing to have me as a marriage and family therapist hop on and talk about mental health issues, but when you have someone from our community who is willing to go on a live to talk about their journey with mental health, it is absolutely incredible. So, with that said, anybody that's joining new to my platform and to this community, I welcome you. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to go over a few things to pay attention to. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Tiffany Tota. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm Palestinian American, and I am coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. And I'm joined by my most incredible assistant, Mira. Mira, introduce yourself for those that are new, for those that have been following. I don't like that word following. For those who have been with our community for a long time, uh,
Yeah, so I'm
so I'm
Mira.
gonna have her introduce herself.
I'm Mira. I'm Tiffany's assistant, and I'm helping with the content, and I'm really excited for seeing our community grow. And yeah, I'm very excited to be with you today.
Yes. Our community is definitely growing. I think somebody had a question. Was it Nuit? I can't really see it. I am born and raised in the United States, Asli Falastiniya, but I am a Palestinian American, for those of you that are interested in knowing that. Hi, Nadine. Good to see you. Welcome, everybody who is joining our live. I really appreciate it. Hi, I'm Hamad. I don't know why I'm having a hard, I think it's my shirt. I can't really see the comments. Mira, you're going to have to help me out with some of the names. So
Yeah.
welcome, everybody. For those of you that are new, please know that we are a community of healing, a community that supports one another, a community that values every single person's story and honoring. We all have differences within our Middle Eastern community. I recognize that. There are nuances. And the reason why I created this platform is so that we have a space to talk about it. I get a lot of comments from people. Oh, Lish, you're on the Arab. And I said, look, think about your own life. Where do we have space to talk about what we go through within our cultural expectations and norms? Not many. And where do we have a space to talk about our emotional health and wellness? You guys let me know where. So that's why here, whatever I say, what doesn't apply to you, what doesn't apply, let it fly. Just, but if you feel to come in and say negative comments and to try and put me down or Mita down or objectify us as women or whatever silliness happens in social media, just know, and especially with our guest that's coming on, who we are so blessed to have, I'm letting you guys know that's not going to work for us. And you will be immediately blocked and deleted because in our own lives, as coming from our culture, we couldn't do that. So on this platform, we can and we will. So I call that my khalto bahdala, which I don't mean it. I say it with a lot of love. Okay. We want everybody to feel safe seen and heard in this community. Now it looks like our guest is on. Ahmad, I don't see the video. Shafti Nadine, the anti-bahdala, the khalto bahdala. I know. It's thank you, Safa.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me though?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Do you prefer to keep your camera off? You're more than welcome to.
No, no. When I try to turn it on, it says that I don't have access to turn it on.
Oh, Mira, Shufu, into you guys are seeing like the Arab in me, the perfectionist is going, yee, yee, yee. But this is a good learning for all of us. Mira,
May I ask, did you invite him or did he join?
he joined.
Can you invite him?
To join.
Yeah,
Can you invite him as a guest instead?
I didn't know how to do that, Mira.
If you just click on guests at the bottom of the screen, you see that, yeah, you click on it and then just write the name of his page.
Where?
When you click on guests, you have an option to search, right?
No.
You don't see that?
This is Gen X problems, you guys. Gen X problem. Oh, here, I can invite him. Hayo. Shufi. Shuftu.
Yeah,
And
good job.
as my Gen Z daughter says, because I'm mother, like Arabi mother still within me. She goes, Mommy, you didn't crash out. It's still not coming up. Mira, I'm wondering, let's see. 'Cause we
I
need to
still
see-
do not have access. I accepted it, so I did get your request, but
Okay,
it's
how about-
not letting me show my video.
Okay, hold on. Let's figure this out. Always show Leah on extra words, wallpaper. Oh, here. Let's see. Moderator. Can I add him as a moderator or no?
You can, if you'd like to, you can.
Okay. Let's see. Maybe that'll help. Okay. All right. This is where we start. We're learning, you guys. We're learning. So bear with us for 1 second. Mira, maybe you can talk a little bit about the platform as I try and figure this out. Talk
of
about
course.
like what I'm doing, my process. Maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah, of course. So I would like to let you know before we begin that every live is always saved and it's on YouTube. So if you'd like to view any of the past lives, you're going to find them on YouTube, and you're going to find 2 playlists, one for City Sunday lives and one for Wadih Wednesday lives. So if you'd like to view any of the past lives, you can find them there. Also, the website now has all the workshops, so you can find workshops on the website for April and May. So you can always find them in the link in the bio. And if you have any questions, you can always DM us, and I'm going to be responding to you. Also, if you'd like to share your email in the DMs, that would be great.
Okay. Ahmad, I was doing something. Did anything happen or no?
So for a moment, I was able to turn on my camera, but as soon as I saved it, it turned off again and it showed the same message. I don't know. It may be on my end because this is a newer account. I'm not too.
Okay. Uh-oh. Where'd he go? Well, anyway, let's see. While we're figuring that out, why don't we see where people are? So where are people coming in from? I love seeing, I'm coming from Los Angeles, California. Where are you coming from, Mira?
I'm from Egypt.
That's right. Do we have any Egyptians in the house? I always feel like, Nadine, Arab American in the house. I love it. Sapphire, New York. I love it. You know, Islam Tadiq, welcome. Let's see, where else where are my UAE people? I feel like we get a lot of people from UAE, Sudan, Morocco. Where is everybody? WLC, I don't, let's see. Wissam, welcome, Wissam. Oh, there's Dubai. Hi, Missy girl. Okay, awesome. What happened to Ahmad? Let's see.
I think he's trying to open his camera.
Okay. Oh, there it goes. Let's see, who else? This is a platform for all of us to come together and see where are we at. Let's see, while we're trying to figure that piece out, how about people talk about what topics you might want to talk, have me bring up. I'm going to have one on narcissism, seems to be a big one. I'm going to hold off on that because it's such a huge and complicated topic. I'm going to talk about gossip. And let's see. I'm wondering, Mira, if we can just stop the live till, can we get Ahmad back on track here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you guys, I think we're going to join back in just a few, but people are joining. Are people, let's see. All right. Okay, what other topics, you guys, while we're waiting? This is learning out of patience. Oh, first, oh, good, thank you. Oh, while we're waiting. Bueno.
Yeah.
You guys see that, Mira?
Yeah.
Okay, El Etisal was written by Sabine Khawaji, and it was produced by Jonathan Akawi, so we have a Canadian, here they are, Canadian Lebanese writer, absolutely amazing. And Jonathan is a Palestinian American. They have collaborated with an incredible team of people to create this short film called El Estilal, right? Did I pronounce that correctly?
الاتصال.
Oh, shoot. El Etisal. See, that's why I need Mira, because of my Arabic, it's such a mess. And El Etisal. And what's incredible about this film is that it highlights mental health through the arts. I'm a firm believer that maybe the messages that we can hear is through music, through dance, through film. And so this is so important for our community to talk about war, conflict, emotional suppression, intergenerational trauma. I spoke about that at the film festival, and I really truly believe that unless we as a community can talk about these things, we're not going to be able to heal. And I've always said, I'm of an older generation, that the future generation is going to be healed through the future. Yeah, I saw that. The future generations are going to be healed through you guys, through the 35 and under. Let's see. Kali says, yes, I believe that music can significantly influence. Absolutely. And especially with, if we connect to our indigenous music, which I know we love Arabic music, we love the Arabic party, but when we can connect to drumming, chanting, I truly believe from that we can heal our ancestral DNA. Now, for those of you, like, it gets passed down from generation and generation to bring us back to wherever you are in the Middle East, to go back to some of our earlier practices of dance and music, to be able to heal that within us. So, because we cannot, when I say we have to take responsibility and accountability for our healing. Oh, there we go. Let's see if that works. Okay, I think he's hopping on. Hey, Omar!
How's it going? I joined on my personal account, so I think it worked better because this has been around longer and I have a lot more like traction on it.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. You guys, we are back in action. We all survived the hiccup and we're all good. So welcome everybody. My name is Tiffany Tuatah. For those of you that are joining in, I am very excited to have Omar with us today from the Arab American Mental Health Association, who has courageously come on to talk about his journey in his own healing. And I'm also joined by my assistant, Mira. For those of you that are new here, welcome. For those of you that have been coming on City Sunday, every Sunday I join you to talk about wellness and emotional health within our cultural context. So here we are. So without further ado, let me introduce Ahmad, and I'm going to have him talk about his organization. And then we are going to talk about mental health and how we can all heal through our own personal stories and our journeys. So with that said, Ahmad, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'll just give a brief overview of like myself before I go over the organization. So My name's Omar. I am Jordanian Palestinian. So I was born in Urdun, Amman, Urdun, and then I came to the US when I was younger. I'm currently in New York, and I'm also a pre-med student. So I just recently graduated, and I'm just taking some time off before going to medical school, and I'm applying this May. And one of the things I was interested in doing prior to going to medical school was mental health advocacy. So I wanted to specifically do mental health advocacy in like an underserved community, specifically in our community, because I feel like it's so neglected. And when I was looking for organizations to join, I found very few to none. So I decided to start one on my own. And I currently am partnered with 10 other board members from across the country. And we all work together to create this organization, the Arab American Mental Health Association. So what it is, it's a youth-led advocacy organization where we seek to educate people on mental health, whether it's lesser known mental health disorders or more commonly known ones. We educate them on the treatment options that are available. We also educate and raise awareness of resources, especially free resources or affordable resources, because we understand that a lot of people may not have access to, higher quality resources that require money. A lot of people may be coming here as refugees, so it's important to raise awareness for resources that everyone can have access to. In addition to that, we also do education for cultural competence in healthcare. So we like to educate professionals in healthcare. Additionally, we like to educate future healthcare professionals on the importance of cultural competence and understanding where your patient is coming from to more effectively treat them. So we're currently growing. We just started, but it's quickly growing, and there's a lot of exciting stuff happening and coming in the future. So yeah, that's a little bit about the organization.
Oh, Amar, I have to tell you, I am so excited about all of this because I've always said it's the younger generation, the new generation that's going to take our culture to a place of healing. And that's exactly what your organization is doing, cultural competence. Now, I'm from the United States, and I have to tell you guys, um, the therapists, Western therapists, many of them have no clue how to work with people within our communities. And because resources are so profoundly limited, and that's one of the reasons why I started this platform, Community for International Arab, because we were really not doing well as far as like services, mental health stigma. So thank you so much for your organization for raising the awareness and doing what you do. But my question to you would be, how did you get started on mental health advocacy?
So mental health has always been something that's very important to me. Having gone through my own mental health journey, um, if you'd like, I could share that specific journey. Like, it started like back when I was 10 years old. Um,
If you
would you
feel
like?
comfortable,
Yeah.
I would
No,
love
it's
for you
just,
to, because it'll
yeah.
normalize for people who are perhaps fearful of sharing their story, and the courage that it's taking you to even talk about your story would be such a blessing for me as a clinician, because it's very rare that we get to hear other people's journeys. So yes, so you were talking about it started at 10 years old, your mental health
Yeah.
journey.
No, no, I just want to say also that I completely agree with you. I want to foster open conversations about mental health, specifically within our community, and I am more than happy to do so. I just didn't know if you wanted me to get into it yet, but I will. Yeah, I will start.
I would love that.
So it started when I was 10 years old. Just a background, I didn't have any previous mental health issues. It just started one day, out of nowhere. I remember I just was short of breath. My heart was racing. As a 10-year-old, I just came home from school and I was rushed to the hospital. And after many months of like outpatient, going to a lung doctor, going to a heart doctor, going to a brain doctor, they basically said, "Oh, this is something that's psychological, and you need to go to therapy for it." So I was very fortunate that my mom she's very Americanized, and she's very understanding of like mental health and the necessity of like treatment. She also herself went to therapy for many years, so she was very supportive of me going to therapy. And I've been going to therapy since then, on and off, for the past 7 years. Not 7 years, 12 years at this point. And it's been very fulfilling for me. I was diagnosed with anxiety, and I was diagnosed with depression. And in the very beginning, it was very difficult. I was hospitalized probably over 10 times, just back and forth to the hospital, constant panic attacks. I couldn't go out of the house for very long. I was very like socially isolated. And the therapist and psychiatrist and psychologist that I went to, all of them helped me to kind of seek what was going on with me. My parents, as understanding as they were very like set on the idea that it was being caused by video games. I was playing like video games on my DS at the time, or on my iPad, and this was something that was very new to them. So they were like, "Oh, this also meant," they were thinking mental health was something new too, even though it's always been around. So they just kind of attributed my mental health issues to video games. After a lot of introspection over many years, I realized that at that point in time, when I was 10 years old, I remember that my dad had lost his business, his deli business, and he was staying home a lot with us because he was looking for work. And I remember, even as a 10-year-old, I knew, like, even if I didn't like specifically know about like the importance of like finances and stuff, I knew that things were going to change because we did not have like the financial stability that we originally had. And like without like my parents always try to make sure that I wasn't aware that we didn't have a lot of money, but it was very apparent in like not getting the things that me and my brother would want, or not being able to eat out. There was a lot of sacrifices that my parents had to make to send me to school, to take me out places, to buy food. So I think a lot of my stress at that time, even at 10 years old, was due to financial instability and the fear that we would lose our house or lose something that I had had since I was little. And a lot of my anxiety growing up, now I can definitely say it was attributed to things like that: financial instability, not getting what I was used to, or not being able to like go on vacations or things like that. My parents, they would tell me, "Oh, if you do good in school, we'll do this for you, do that for you, get you this, a gift." And a lot of times they would able to hold up those promises because they didn't have the financial ability to do so.
I'm going to slow you down because you are highlighting so many things that many people, how many of you can relate to what he's saying? So you may not have had mental health growing up. There was a stressor in the family. And in his case, thank you, Nadine. And in his case, 10 years old, there was a shift in the family dynamic. No fault of his parents. Things happen. And he was, and I talk about, we absorb as children because we don't have the tools yet. We're absorbing the family stressors and we start to internalize it, right? And as parents did the best that they could for trying to insulate him from his brother. How many of you can relate to what Omar is saying? Nadine, anybody else can relate to financial instability? Your father's livelihood was now in question. Thank you. Is that Mariah? Thank you. Manoj? I can't see the names. Mira, if you could say the names, please.
Yeah, Maraya and Manoj.
Thank you so much. So, Omar, I just wanted to, I'm going to pause you every once in a while because I think it's so important for us to be able to connect with what you're saying, for people to kind of reflect within and go, oh, I went through that. Then your parents, which I thought was so keen is that your parents would say, if you do well, right? Um, then, sorry, I got distracted. Nadine, it's my shirt that's causing the video cliche. Okay. I won't wear this shirt next time. That, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I cannot read the comments, Mira. Remind me.
Okay.
That what you were talking about was your parents would promise you things and then they couldn't fulfill it. Is that what you said?
Yeah, they use it basically as like positive reinforcement. They would give me something in return for me doing well in school or being well behaved, and then they weren't able to provide it when the time actually came because of the financial instability, the lack of monetary wealth.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Can you remember when you were 10 how that felt for you, knowing that you were promised something, you were excited, you were working hard, and they weren't able to fulfill it? This is not blaming your parents. This is about your own internal process of what happened that contributed perhaps to your panic and anxiety.
Um, it's hard to say exactly how I felt back then because I don't even think I attributed like what was going on. I was very like unaware of what mental health was or anxiety or depression or all that at that time. But I remember feeling, betrayed or it did definitely cause trust issues over time where I still am very hesitant when they promise things or say things. Um, it's definitely caused like lifelong issues. But at that time, yeah, no, I did feel betrayed or I'd be like upset. I more so did the things that they would request just to make them happy. But I did get like upset when they would promise something and then all of a sudden they weren't able to, fulfill that promise.
Thank you so much for sharing. So now this is what occurred 10 years old. Please continue because this is so important to share because many of us can relate to what you're saying. So however, I also want to applaud your parents because when did they first come to the United States? How old were they when they first came to the United States?
So my mom is from Ramallah, Palestine. She came to the U.S. when she was very young because she had people Israelis threaten her dad who had his business there, saying that they would kill him and his family if they didn't give him if my grandpa did not give them money. So he realized it was very unsafe for them to be there. So my mom came here when she was maybe 2, 3 years old. She was very young, and
Oh,
my
hold on. I'm going
father
to slow
came.
you down. So, mom, for all intents and purposes, is pretty Americanized. If we're going to look
Oh
at
yeah,
cultural integration, 2 to 3 years old. So, we're saying that your mom was more psychologically minded and was able to
yes.
get her own therapy and was able to support you and you getting you the supportive services. And for many of us, that was very rare. But now I want to highlight that your mother's openness and awareness may have been attributed as a result of her being in an environment where there was less, well, it was still probably at that time stigma, but less stigma than if had she stayed for Ramallah.
Oh yeah, no. My mom was probably the more supportive one. My dad, on the other hand, he came from Urdun, Jordan, when he was like 18. He came here for school for university, and I think he was the most hesitant when it came to getting me help. But it was it's funny because it was his brother that's overseas, who's a surgeon. He was the one that was pushing my dad to get me therapy here because he understood the importance of like mental health and treatment and getting help for it.
That's amazing. So you could see from your uncle who was in Jordan being a surgeon because of his medical training and probably had seen it numerous times, was able to support your father in getting you the support here. But dad was resistant initially. Was dad, we talk a lot on this platform that our parents tend to minimize our mental health, excuse it. What was going on for your dad that maybe he may not have been as open to talk about getting you the support before his brother came to help facilitate?
I think my dad's always been like pretty distrustful of like the US's healthcare system. Additionally, he was just thinking it was like them trying to get money out of us by sending us to, a therapist, or like get money out of our insurance by sending me to therapy every single week. Um, he was just thinking it's all just us getting screwed over, basically. And he also didn't want to believe that I was actually like struggling or going through something. That's why when I would tell him when I was younger that a lot of the issues I felt were coming from the family or from him, he would like, no, it's video games, it's like coming from myself. He didn't want to believe that there was things around me, specifically people, and him, including him, that were causing me this stress and causing me to have like anxiety or causing me to feel depressed.
Yes. Okay, let me validate your dad for a second. He, on some level, may not have been wrong, because we need to acknowledge that at least here in the United States, I don't know how it works in other countries. Feel free to chime in the comments if you're in another country, how this may work. Here in the United States, Omar's dad was not, his fears or his distrust had some validity, right? Because that's what I've experienced as someone who worked in county systems, who worked in hospitals. There is an element of that. And so we want to validate that. And we want to say that there was a minimization that your dad was projecting onto you to say, it's really not that bad. We can get through this kind of messaging.
Yeah, no, I don't think he fully understood the gravity of the situation. I don't think I mean, obviously I wouldn't understand as a 10-year-old, but he didn't think it was a big deal. Like he would always tell me to just brush it off. Oh, just get over it. Like, and it was like the physical symptoms were like so like exacerbated. Like I would nearly pass out from how much I would hyperventilate, and
Mhm.
he would just think of it as nothing, or he would even make it worse by yelling at me
That's
and
right.
screaming at me because he would be scared, and out of his fear he would make me even more anxious and more fearful, and it would just kind of pile up into something even worse.
I love that you said that. How many of you, I want to go back to those of you that are joining the live, welcome and thank you. How many of you had where you're having anxiety or perhaps depression, or you're struggling with emotional dysregulation, whatever you may have gone through, and your parents were more hysterical, yelling, right? So think of your nervous system, right? When you're already revved up and then you have someone yelling at you, screaming at you, telling you, forget it, Insu, what are you doing? You're making this bigger than what it is. Think about how much. Thank you. Yeah, how, thank you. That is such a key thing, because you have to remember that for nervous system regulation, especially for children, you need safety. Now, at 10 years old, it's a little more complicated because you're a pre-adolescent, hormones, you're shifting your identity and family stressors. There's a lot already happening on the nervous system. And then now you have a parent. Again, this isn't about blaming or judging our parents for their lack of knowledge. And that's why we're creating these platforms. Omar's creating this association so that we can help educate people that when you have a child that's experiencing anxiety, that you are not making it worse through your own emotional dysregulation. And that takes education. So thank you for that. So let's continue. So dad made, just through his own lack of education, made it worse. And then what happened? Kind of fast forward as to when you got treatment,
Yes.
what you noticed.
So I remember my very first therapist. She was an old Russian lady. She was very, very good. I don't remember exactly what we used to do, but she was very good at like teaching me how to cope with it. Like how to, because my parents were very much against like taking medicine for it, like for the anxiety specifically. And they wanted me to just go to therapy, and she used to teach me like different things I could do when I started to feel anxious. Like she was very much about like distractions. So like I would start like drawing or like coloring or journaling, or like she was very much about introspection and like teaching me to realize what was causing me to get anxious, like thinking about it in my head. um then after that, I started to feel better. I stopped going to therapy, which I think was a mistake. I think that even when you feel better, you should continue to go to therapy. But I would eventually start going to other therapists in the future, as like other things would pop up. So like then I started getting depressed, and I would socially isolate myself in school. That was a whole nother issue that I would have, where I would just, because of my anxiety, it was very hard to socialize in school, and I would just self isolate. I would make no friends. I would just keep myself away from activities or events where there were a lot of people. I couldn't go to like fairs or places that were like packed or busy, like malls. And I started going to therapy for that. And my therapist, one of them, he would teach me breathing exercises, like not to breathe from the stomach, breathe from the chest. But it would make it worse for me, because then I
Yes.
would focus on my breathing. I would concentrate on it too much, to the point where I would just start hyperventilating because I'm not doing it right.
Right.
And I went to him for a very long time just to please my parents, because they would start making threats against me, like, oh, if you don't go to therapy, we're gonna take this away from you, because they thought that it was helping me, when in reality, in all honesty, I started lying and manipulating my therapist. This way I could just get out of their guidance. So like I said, I was self-isolating. So they would tell me steps to get myself to open up to people. And they would make these huge requests on me that I wasn't ready to do. And instead of like telling them and being honest with them, oh, I'm not ready, because it made me uncomfortable to not make progress with them, I would lie and make up stories. Yeah, met this person, I'm friends with them, I'm made friends with this person. And all the while I'm telling my parents the truth, how I'm not making any progress with this person. I don't want to keep going to this therapist. And they would threaten me, oh, we're going to take away your iPad, not going to let you go to uh, this event, or go somewhere that you really want to go because you missed therapy this week. So it eventually, it felt like it was becoming like a punishment to go there, but it was only because I feel like I wasn't connecting with my therapist. Like I said, the very first one I went to, she was incredible. She fully understood me. But after that, there was a series of
Okay, I'm
therapists
going to
where
slow you down. I'm going to slow you down
yes.
because there's so many threads I want to go down on this. So, number one, goodness of fit for a therapist is absolutely key. And you may have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 before you find the right one. Now, if you are a parent and your child is going to therapy, never threaten to take away things that they enjoy for the therapy. Never do that. Therapy or things that therapy should never be used as punishment. But I get where your parents are coming from, because they were probably exacerbated, they were afraid, they were overwhelmed, and they probably just needed you to do that. I'm not excusing the behavior, but we need to understand where our parents are coming from, where you may be coming from, to develop more empathy. So now I could see that it wasn't goodness of fit. Now, what you said was so important, because I tell this to all my Western colleagues when they're working with people from the Middle East. We are so good, many of us, shouldn't generalize because we are so good at people pleasing. We are so good at manipulation. We are so good at telling you what you want to hear in order to get us out of the distress. We are so good at that. And I say, hey, if you have a Middle Eastern person as a client, they are very, very good at telling you what you want to hear, and you won't even pick up on it, because we will not let you see us sweat. until it gets really, 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 really bad, because I talk about that. So what you did with that therapist first was adaptive. It was an adaptive survival skill that you needed to do to get out of a distressful familial dynamic. And the fact that the therapist, I'm not blaming the therapist, because the therapist is only as good as the person in front of them. The more honest you could be with your therapist, the more they'll be able to help you. However, I'm also wondering if they didn't attune to you in a way to pick up on that there may be some other distressful things going on, that they weren't asking the right questions.
So this was two different therapists that I was going to, where I was like just constantly lying to them, and they were I like I said, they were asking for too much. Like I felt like the steps they were taking, I don't think they understood the gravity of the situation or how long I had been doing the isolation for, but it was very easy for me to just get around what they were saying, because they were asking for like, oh, could just go up to someone and make friends with them. Like it was very generic, it wasn't very specific. And then they would just be, when they thought that, when I would say, yeah, I did that, they just keep going on. Okay, now do this, now do this. And it was just like, how am I, like, as a child who has socially isolated themselves for so long, how do you, it sounds so easy for them to just say these things or like make these objectives. But for me, it was like, how do I even go about that? Because I was very hard for me to conversate or to socialize. Like I didn't even know how to start a conversation or how to approach someone. But and not even I didn't even have the confidence to do that. So they're just setting objectives without like specifically, like they're not addressing the issue where I was just too anxious to do it, or I didn't have the confidence to do it, or when I would even approach someone, like my heart would start racing. They were just setting these, in my opinion, they were impossible goals for me. It didn't seem feasible for me to do any of the things that they wanted me to do.
That's right. And that's why I don't do goals. When I do work with my clients, there's no goals. It's about the story. What happened to you that got you to this place? Yes, I know we're in a very productive, we need to have goals and set them. And I see this so much on social media, and sometimes I cringe, where I'm like, what we are setting ourselves up. It's about the unfoldment of your story, even as a child or even as a young adult. What got you to where you were? And there were many things that got you to where you're at. And then you set a goal to go talk to somebody, yet you were so anxious. And I love that you lack of confidence, that they were putting you at step 15 when you were at step 0. Yeah. So I want to validate that for you, for sure. Not that you need it, but I felt like, yeah, they weren't, and also my sense is how knowledgeable. You want to work with somebody that has expertise in your age group. So it is very important for those of you that have children to find a specialist in children. And in children, it's different age groups. So if you have a preteen, you want somebody that works with teenagers. You want somebody that works with children. You want to have somebody that works with young adults, because there are many, many nuances to that. Elders, if you need somebody that's going to specialize in that. Not every therapist specializes in anxiety, depression. You want to make sure they have knowledge and skills in what you are coming into therapy with. So I want to go to the comments real quick, Omar, if you're okay with that. Can people relate to this level of acute anxiety or social isolation? If you guys, I mean, Omar's really, yes, he is speaking bravely, because I have not heard anybody talk about their mental health and articulate their mental health in the way that he's doing this. So yes, hush, hush, queen. I understand Omar very much. Yes, many of us can, that social isolation. And let's add the cultural nuance to it. We also come from a culture of perfection. We need to present ourselves a certain way. We don't have problems, right? We do not have these issues. ما في عندنا mental health. And that is absolutely, and then we have cultural norms and expectations to excel in school, excel in our businesses. And when you are feeling social isolation and you can't even, you're so anxious, you're having panic attacks, and the therapy, and the culture is saying, hey, you need to perform when you may not physically and emotionally be able to do that. So this is where, how can we be kind to one another? Someone says, yes, my 20-year-old brother is like that. So my hope is from this story and this journey that Omar is talking about, that you may have some empathy towards your 20-year-old brother. And if someone in your family is pushing him or negating his feelings or yelling at him, my hope is that you can learn from Omar's experience and what might be more helpful. All right. Oh my gosh, this life is going by so quickly. Okay, Omar, we got to start wrapping up. Let's talk about how you overcame this and how you move forward from your earlier childhood experiences.
Yes, so like I said, I went to those therapists. The second one was the last therapist I saw like when I was in my teen years. I just dropped them because I was not happy going there, and I expressed it to my mother, like, listen, this is not helping me. I'm not getting anywhere with this. Their pace is much quicker than my pace. I'm not ready for this. So I went throughout high school still very socially isolated. And I'd love to say that there was like just a magic, something just like magically happened where I just one day just woke up and I was fine. But it took a lot of time. It was after high school that I started to open up and conversate with people. It was specifically when I got my first job. I was working at a Wendy's, and it's not easy to socially isolate yourself when you're working with other people, especially because I knew at that time that my goal was to be a doctor one day. And I knew that I couldn't be a doctor and not talk to people and not socialize, not empathize with people. So I forced myself out of my own shell to conversate with people and talk with people. And between every job I've had from then until now, I've gotten better and better. And it's funny because I went into sales right after the food business. I went into sales, and that's when I opened up the most, because I had to learn to talk to people and be charismatic and all those other things, sell myself basically. And that's probably where I learned the most. And even now, working in the hospital, I use a lot of what I learned in sales to conversate with people, to be charismatic, to be likable, and to also get people to do what I need them to do, whether it's taking taking them out for exercise, or getting them to listen to the nurses or to abide by the rules of the hospital. That was very helpful for me. And I have, since then I have gone to therapy. I go to I do have a psych NP that I see. I have started taking medication. And the reason I started taking medication was just because I felt like therapy wasn't enough. And it was my issues were getting to a point where it was distracting me from school and work. So I've been on medication for over a year now. I switched from Zoloft to Lexapro, and it's been very helpful for me. I'm able to focus on everything that I need to. I'm able to study. I'm able to get my work done. A lot of it was due to just stressors of growing up, getting into your first relationship, getting your heart broken, transitioning from university into wanting to eventually go to medical school. That's a very stressful process, going into doctorate school. Just to the whole process of getting into it, and then just daily stressors, whether it was family members, whether it was work, whether it was my own personal obligations. I realized that it was just easier to supplement therapy with medication. And since then, yeah, I stopped going to my current therapist just because I felt like she wasn't a good fit for me. But I am currently looking for a different therapist that I find as a better fit. Just because, like you said, I believe that it's important, even if you've had a bad experience with another therapist, to not give up. There, eventually, you're gonna find someone that meets your criteria, meets and like can address the issues that you're going through in an appropriate manner, in a way that you will like, and you can start seeing them, every week, bi-weekly, etc. So I still take care of myself. I just because I am part of an organization that helps other people with their mental health doesn't mean that I don't go through my own struggles, my own personal issues. And I think that it's important that I take care of my own personal mental health before I can even help anyone else. So I take care of myself before I take care of others.
Yes, I'm sorry. So many threads. You are incredible. I am so grateful and we are so blessed for you to share your story. Number one, I know there's a lot of stigma around taking psychotropic medications. I'm not a medical doctor. I will not speak on that. But what Omar is highlighting is sometimes talk therapy may not be enough. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is where for you to really explore, for you to get some relief, because I always tell my cousins, clients, why suffer if you don't have to? I mean, that's what modern medicine, there's a place for that. But really choose wisely that there's a psychiatrist that you find, again, good fit to be able to do a thorough assessment, so they're not just giving you a pill, that they're really going to understand the wholeness of who you are and then prescribe the medication. That's one piece. The other piece is you challenged yourself, Omar, like sales, to go from what you shared when you were 10 years old and then to talk about moving into sales. And I smiled because I thought, oh my gosh, you really leaned into overcoming anxiety is the exposure to the very thing that you're fearful of. And because we come from a very fear-based culture, we stay stuck in the fear. But in order to overcome the fear, when you are in a safe environment, like safer environment, I have to say, those of you that are living in war or conflict, this does not apply to you. That you can overcome it through the exposure. And that's what you did. That's incredible.
No, thank you so much. I agree with you that the exposure into like getting into that environment is what helped me more than any talk therapy ever could.
That's right. And that's where for you to assess, those of you that are on this live, for you to assess, what am I afraid of? And can I lean into reaching out to a friend? Can I lean into going into a work environment of accepting a project or doing something that's really going to challenge you? It's about expanding our capacity in who we are as people, who you are as a person. And I know we need to wrap up. Omar, any final thoughts to those that may have children that are struggling with anxiety, or if someone's struggling with anxiety themselves? Are there any tips that you can offer to help bring someone on that path?
Yeah, no, if I were to have kids and they were going through anxiety, knowing what I know now from my own personal journey, knowing what I know from my parents and how they helped me, the most important thing is that you be supportive of them, and that you offer them therapy, because they're not going to know how helpful therapy can be as kids until they actually go and try it out. And be open to trying different therapists. Not every therapist is going to be fit for your kid, and sometimes your kid's not going to be able to tell you that. They might internalize it and say to themselves, oh, this is not right for me. But let them have a safe space where they can speak with someone that they're comfortable with. Like, a lot growing up, I wasn't comfortable speaking with my parents at all. So having the therapy, having that outlet to speak with someone was very helpful for me. So give them that safe space. Give them someone that they can talk to, that won't live with them at home, and they won't feel like they're being judged. And yeah, don't judge your kids. Don't make the situation worse by putting your own emotional instability onto them, like what my dad did. and educate yourself. It's very important that you educate yourself on anxiety and how you can help someone that is going through it.
Thank you so much. Amazing tips. And this is, I would love to have you on again if you are open. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for just all these nuggets of wisdom. I'm getting a little emotional because your story, my sense is anybody that's listening can relate to so much of what you're saying. And this is the healing that for myself as a Middle Eastern therapist, we want for our community, for us to come together and say, you are not alone, that there is help, that we are greater than what we were told, that we have capacity, that we can truly come together if we share stories the way Omar did. And I'm open to anybody who is willing to share their story. Send us a DM. In fact, the Arab American Mental Health Association, Omar, I think you guys have a campaign for people to share their story. Is that still going on?
Yeah, so we have a form that people can fill out. It's on our social media, at Arab American MHA, where
Can
there's
you say
one of my
that
board members.
slower? Mita, hold on. Sorry. Mita, can you put that in the chat, please? Can you add, so for anybody that wants to follow or get more information. Oh, thank you, Omar. So you can look,
Yes.
it's at Arab American MHA. So you can go ahead and support their organization, but go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's a initiative that we wanted to do. Specifically, one of my board members, Sidra, she's a part of the AAMHA, and she wanted to foster open conversations by getting people to interview to speak on their own mental health journeys. I think I spoke with you about this previously, but it's been very difficult to get people to speak on it, despite how many people I had sharing it and how many people I promoted it to, how many groups I promoted it to. People are very hesitant to speak on their mental health journey and open up about it. I completely understand why. It's not easy for anyone to open up about something that's deeply personal or traumatic to them. Even for me, it wasn't easy when I first started, but I knew that if I couldn't do it, how can I expect anyone else to do it? So I
Yes.
appreciate you giving me the platform to speak with your audience. And I encourage anyone that's listening to do the same. If you're going through something, not even just open up, listen to what other people have to say. Listen to what other people are going through, because they may be going through something that's similar to you, and it makes it easier to open up yourself.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. I know we need to end. Let's see, Nadine had a question on which platform is your organization? IG, TikTok, what else, Omar?
So we're on IG, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. You can just find our website. Our website is arabmentalhealth.org. It's one of the first results when you search up Arab mental health on Google.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, you guys, let's give Omar a huge shout out and thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for sharing your story. Really appreciate it. Let's all support one another. Let's share our stories. And I will see you Wednesday for Wadih Wednesday. So if you have any questions or answers or anything that came up from this live or previous videos, please DM us. We will answer them. And I wish all of you a very wonderful day, an amazing time in whatever you do after this live. Wishing you the very best. Thank you, Omar. Thank you so much. Mira, thank you again. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.